What's up, Skye Squad? It's your boy, DJ Richie Skye. We are back in the building, and today we're going to be discussing The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 1, Episode 12. We have one more episode before we get into the finale. And of course, we are joined by none other than Adam from Up and Adam. Adam, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm having like a later start today, so I got to sleep in. I feel good.
Good. I mean, I was up at like 5:30, so I'm like,
They're not the same.
Sleeping in? What is sleeping in? What time do you normally get up?
Usually I get up at like 6:30 every morning, and I have like a routine. I walk my dogs. I try to avoid this crazy lady in my building. I mean, I have like a system, and then I get started and I start on my videos, and then whatever else. And then I have to somehow fit my relationship in there somewhere. But today I got to sleep in a little bit, so it was nice.
Understandable. We all have that. Well, I know I have that same kind of conundrum as well, trying to make sure that I balance everything appropriately. Guys, we're going to be talking Salt Lake City today. You know how we do it when we get into this episode. We want to know, and we're going to tell you what we would rate the episode. But I also want to know what you guys in the chatterization are going to rate this episode on a scale from 1 to 10. Adam, you have the distinct pleasure of rating the episode first.
I'm giving it a 10.
Give me your rating. What?
I swear, I'm giving it. This was my favorite episode by far. Just because everybody stood up for themselves in this episode. Sure, Jen Shah did go a little wacky, but I mean, I was scared for Whitney in that moment. I was like, she's not kidding. She's about to drag you for filth up and down this whole hotel. Like, it was just insane. And then the hypnotist that kept I mean, we'll get into all of it, right? But the hypnotist, when she kept interrupting Jen, and Jen's looking at her like, girl, I'm about to slam your head against this table. Like, shut up. I thought it was a great episode.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 9 point. I'm gonna give it a 9.9. Okay. I felt like, as I was thinking about it, as you were talking, I was like, I try to reserve the 10s, right? You try to reserve the 10s because you want to wait until it's an episode that was really worth it. You know what I mean? And so for me, I felt like having seen the season, and I try to hold off on the 10s until at least the end of the season, if possible. But with this particular episode, I did feel like it gave us so much of what we need at the end of a season of a Housewives franchise. The trip, we got a crazy, wild altercation. We got some people, like you said, standing up for themselves. I'm just taking away a minuscule point because Mary is still filming in the closet, okay? Mary has been in the closet filming for the past 6 episodes. Makes absolutely no sense. Every time we see her, she is right back there in her closet, her cave of a closet. And I'm just a little bit over it because she was technically the catalyst for all of this. And so it would have been nice to have seen her, with the ladies, or at least all looking like, I don't know, something more. That's just me.
Like
I know
she does that.
I know you're not a Mary fan.
I mean, I'm not a huge Mary fan. And I just heard too that she's going to be back next season. She will be back, and hopefully she won't be filming in her closet, but I'm not a huge Mary fan myself. And I do feel like, again, she kind of dropped this bomb, and then she was like, okay, girls, go play. Like, she is the catalyst for all of this, and she's not there to own any of it except through a phone, which is so easy to do. But no, I'm so proud of Meredith in this episode. I'm so proud of Whitney, Heather. Like this, I just thought this was such a great episode.
I want you guys to think about this as we go along. Kia, thank you so much for the super chat. We're gonna get to it, but I want you to think about when I was watching this scene with the whole altercation. I want to know, which friend are you? Okay. Now we have, and before I guess let's start it off because we really start this episode right in the thick of it. Literally, they waste no time getting into the shenanigans at dinner, right? So we get before that, it starts with Whitney going to see Heather.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay, cool. Whitney goes to see Heather. She's thinking that everything is fine. And again, I do have a question for everyone. I want to know which participant are you in these types of situations? So just stand by. I'm going to still get to that question, guys. But we do get the episode started off with Heather and Whitney sort of recapping the day. Whitney thinks everything is fine and she's ready to have some fun. And then Heather lets her know it's not okay. It's not okay. Tell me about your thoughts about this conversation.
Honestly, I can see, again, we've talked about this, but I can see where Whitney was a little bit blindsided because I'm similar in the sense of if I squash something with someone, if there's an altercation, I just want to move past it. I want to talk it out. I don't run from my problems, but I feel like there was already that difficult conversation that they had in the bathtubs and they agreed to kind of put it away. Unfortunately for Jen, and she keeps playing on, I don't want to say this excuse, but the fact that this somehow affected her family. And mind you, nobody else threw the glass. Nobody else went off in the party like a tyrant, but she keeps playing off of that and saying that's why her reactions are so big. For Whitney in that moment, I would have been the same way. I would have been like, what are you talking about? And what sucks is she's on this high because she made amends with Lisa and Meredith. She feels good. She feels like they're going to have a productive, good girls trip. And Heather's like, mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of felt like I was Whitney walking back into the room like, okay, listen, we're ready to go and get off into some new things. And here's Heather. Humdrum Heather in this moment is bringing me more bad news that Jen is still not over this drama that she caused at her husband's party. Yes, maybe that wasn't the right time to tell her, but no one told her to blow up, okay? Right. No one told her to blow up. Real quick, we got a super chat from Jacqueline who says, hi, Adam and Richie. I'm a Mary fan because of her quirkiness. Me too. But if she continues on this route of avoiding the ladies, she won't last long. And I see that's a common question amongst you guys. A lot of you guys think that she is avoiding the ladies.
I feel like producers won't let her do that next season.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that too. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So then we get the ladies going into a restaurant. Everyone's thinking that they're gonna, just have a gay old time of it all. And we get Meredith, Lisa arriving first, of course, because they're together. And they're kind of recapping the day a little bit, Then we get Jen entering the room. Now, what we don't notice is, and we won't notice it until much later, is that Jen also has security with her. And just from my knowledge, and maybe Adam, you might know this a little bit better, is it common for Jen to travel with security to the filming events? Or, and I ask this question now because I felt like there had to have been some thought behind why there was security there to begin with.
I don't know. See, I mean, it has to be so expensive to fly the way that she does with that whole team with her, a bodyguard. I didn't even know that she had a bodyguard, honestly, until this episode, or why she would even need a bodyguard, unless it's the fact that she travels with so much, like everything on her is expensive, like maybe her diamonds and stuff, and she wants to be protected in that sense. And it is Vegas, and Vegas does get a little gross sometimes, but I'm not sure because it's not like any of the women are a threat to her. She's more of a threat to all of the women.
Yeah, I guess I felt like, and again, I want to talk about it before he actually popped up on the screen, but I just was trying to dissect why have a bodyguard? Because I guess I get it if it was a volatile situation.
Right.
This was as someone says, the bodyguard is ridiculous, gives me Giselle vibes. Who is it? Better says that. But for me, I was thinking to myself, well, you're surrounded by a camera crew or a team of people at all times, typically, and you've got like 17 assistants. What do we need a bodyguard for?
Yeah.
But maybe you're right. Maybe it is the jewels and that sort of thing. And maybe she wants to avoid any type of, burglaries or anything like that. But I was just trying to figure that out.
No, I completely agree with you. I was a little bit baffled myself, if that's the proper word.
So we get the ladies recapping with Jen the fact that, Whitney has apologized to Lisa and Meredith, and they're fine with it. They're ready to let it go and move on. And suddenly, Jen is teetering right on the edge of, I don't know, a blow up, okay? Adam, what do you think it was about this conversation that really set Jen off?
This.
You think it was alcohol?
Yeah. I mean, this is water, but yeah, I definitely think I think that it was alcohol induced. I think all of her reactions are big in alcohol induced. I mean, even when they did the kind of scroll back when Heather was saying, I've been there for her every time she's walking out of a situation, every single one of those situations she was drinking. And I'm sure, again, we see her drink a little bit on the show, but I'm sure there's a lot more drinking going on behind the scenes. And she seems like in the morning, and I've been there before myself. Actually, Jason said this to me today too. He was joking and he was like, that's you. You're like normal in the morning. And if we go out or something, like all of a sudden you're like a pterodactyl. And I'm like, not always, but I can see where that reaction just becomes so much bigger because one, she's on the antidepressants, supposedly, right? That's what her assistant gives her to take. And then if you're doing that and mixing it, which we don't know if she is, but if she is, yes, that is going to allow her for a much bigger reaction. And that's why I think she is or reacts the way she does.
I'm undecided. I don't know. I mean, I feel like what you're saying, it could be correct as well. I also agree with ATL Nene, who says the problem with Jen is that she says, I forgive you, and then she really doesn't mean it. So it's almost like you have to apologize to her like 3 or 4 times before it actually begins to stick with her.
Which is annoying.
The other thing was that I thought was interesting was that when Whitney was on Watch What Happens Live last night, she said that there was and this was kind of discussed in the episode a little bit, and I'm going to jump ahead with that. But Whitney also says that Jen was expecting for Lisa to come after Whitney as well. And when when Lisa told Jen that she had forgiven her, then the plan was, it wasn't any more good. And so that is what upset Jen.
Right.
So that's what Whitney thinks.
But I mean, at the same time, I'm just someone who hates when the housewives play producer. You're not the producer. Be a housewife. Jen is interesting enough with her reactions and how ridiculous and over the top her lifestyle is. Like, that's interesting enough. Don't sit there and try to go behind the scenes and start manipulating the situations and the dynamic, especially from someone who you're acting like is your friend now. Again, you made amends. You're on her girls' trip. She's the one who organized this. It's like, I don't know. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's very weird. I mean, to me, as I was watching the scene last night, and I did manage to stay up and watch the entire episode. I think I was up until like 12:30 last night, watching the episodes, Watch What Happens Live, all that good stuff. But, for me, I felt like it just seemed like it just slowly built into this like aggressive, and that was a word that they used to describe her last night. And it did seem aggressive. To me, it's like it's out of the norm for someone to go from 0 to 100 like that over this topic.
Right. Right.
because Lisa and Meredith forgave Whitney. Like, what are they supposed to do?
I do want to go back to that question that you asked. Which friend would you be in this situation? Because which friend would you be?
So last night I was having a discussion with my fiance, and I was like, I have been all three of those friends. I have been the Jen, and this is again why I have a 2-drink minimum when I've been drinking. So I can understand you on that. Like, if I'm drinking, if the smallest thing doesn't make sense to me, I am Jen times 10, okay? But as I've grown, I've also been the Lisa who is trying to pacify that friend that is going through it, because I've been there, right? But the me now is more of a Meredith, because I'm not arguing with you. I'm not doing this in public. I've been there. I've done all of this. I am disengaging out. And I appreciated her for doing that. And when Meredith does it, it never seems like, it doesn't get old to me. Like, every time she does it, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I love the fact that she gets up and excuses herself from the situation or the room, because it just, there's so much more power in that. And it's just her saying, like, people get so angry when you dismiss or walk away from a conversation and they're not done. That adds so much fuel to the fire. But what she's pretty much saying is like, I'm above this. I don't need to sit here and scream like a fool. Like her son said, she's a CEO. She's a businesswoman. She's successful. She's not mad. There's nothing to be mad about. Yeah. So for Jen, she's just not in the same. I mean, Jen has a lot of stuff down here that she's trying to deal with. And again, add alcohol to it, and all of that comes out, and she's directing it at the wrong people.
Mm-hmm. And so we get Meredith choosing to disengage, and she just bounces. Lisa is still there trying to console Jen and understand what the issue is. And then in walks the subject of Jen's anger, Whitney and Heather. They come in, Meredith is already gone, and then Jen begins to really flip out on Heather and Whitney. And Heather is trying to get her to stop before she leaves. And this is kind of where we see the bodyguard. And, Jen smacks her hand, and they are about to, it feels like they're about to walk out. But then something happens, and I think that Jen goes back in and around to get into Whitney's space. It was the purse. It was that doggone purse. I don't know why one of those assistants couldn't have gotten that purse, but she goes back in to get her purse. And then she jumps in Whitney's face. Now, at this point, I'm a little like, if I was Whitney, I would have been like, okay, now somebody better get this girl. Yeah. Because she was getting real close and up in Whitney's face. And there's a couple of issues that I want to discuss here, but we also get Heather, who to me, Heather and Meredith, to me, made this episode, because Heather walks around and basically tells Jen, despite the fact that she's constantly afraid of losing Jen's friendship, gets in Jen's face and tells her to stop treating Whitney like that. So the two of them are yelling back and forth, and then we see security, on the side doing something before Jen exit stage left with Lisa running after her. What were your thoughts about this chaos scene right here?
It just goes to show you, I mean, you can't get that close in somebody's face. Like that is just a total violation of space, and everyone is going to react differently, right? We just saw it on Potomac. Monique even said that was something that triggered her from her childhood. You don't know what people have been through. Some people might be a little bit more okay with it. Like, okay, I'm not gonna, I'm scared or whatever. And some people might drag you for filth. So I just think it was brave. I think that Jen does have a little bit more of these aggressive tendencies. And honestly, I was nervous for Whitney, and Whitney was shaking in the moment. She's like, I am kind of nervous for my physical well-being right now. And I was nervous for her physical well-being in the moment. I know that Sure, if there would have been a fight this season, it would have been played up way more than Mary Cosby dating or being married to her grandfather. Like that would have been the whole main focus of the season and how we got there. But I was cringing. I was uncomfortable watching it. And good for Heather too. Heather's like, get out of her face. Like Heather I thought Heather was the bodyguard for a second.
She was Whitney's bodyguard. Okay. I think you bring up a good point there about there being and I talk about this on my channel a lot, is having a line that you don't cross when you're filming these shows, right? Because whether, people know it or not, thank you for the super chat. Miranda says, I love you. You are my newest source of happiness. I love it. I enjoy you so much. Much continued success. Love you, Richie. Thank you so much, Miranda. I appreciate that. That kind of made my morning. So we talk about there being a line that you got to have some boundaries that the cast and crew has to have before the start of filming that you're not going to cross, right? And unless you are okay with that line being crossed, which is a whole nother different situation, right? But clearly these ladies, it didn't cause as much of a chaos as maybe it would have on Potomac, but it was still an example of that line being blurred or there being no line of getting into someone's face, putting your hands on someone, and this, that, and the third. And just for people to really get a gauge of understanding, when you're in the midst of filming, I can speak for myself, with cameras all around you, with a team of people around you, producers, and sometimes, bypassers, and, when you're having these moments, I will tell you that will sometimes find yourself doing and saying things that you may not normally say or do, because of the stress of filming. And not to say that filming is stressful per se, but there is a certain amount of stress that comes with being observed so much. And so it is a little easier for you to lose your cool when the cameras are rolling. That's not necessarily to Jen's defense, but I'm just kind of giving you guys an idea of how these situations can sometimes get really heightened.
Right. And I think it makes some people, if you have a type A personality or whatever the case is, I feel like filming makes your reactions, no matter whether you're sad, mad, angry, like it just amplifies those reactions.
That's it.
That's what we get with Jen.
You hit the nail on the head. Whatever reaction you're having, it can feel amplified. Yeah. So there's that. And I know people think that her behavior is over the top. And I don't think that we all really know what it is just yet. I mean, I think that there's a lot of things that it could be as the reason for her to continuously explode the way that she does. But clearly there's a problem there, because the next day, well, let's not even get into that. The ladies go back and they recap, the entire night, together. And that's when they start putting the pieces together without Jen being around. So you have Heather, Meredith, Lisa, and Whitney, who are all sort of starting to get on the same page with everything. And this is where we get the reveal, because Whitney lets it be known that Jen is going around talking about Meredith. And Meredith spills the beans that while she and Seth were separated, that they were seeing other people. And Lisa is shocked because she's like, this is my best friend, and I didn't know this information. What did you make of this scene right here?
Honestly, I get where Lisa probably is very forthcoming with everything that goes on in her life and her relationship with Meredith, because maybe there's not as much dimension to it, especially if they're not dating other people and her husband make things work. However, that's a personal space. If Meredith doesn't want to share that because she doesn't know what in the moment that means or how that relationship's going to play out, she obviously, I mean, if I were married and we decided to separate and I wanted to date a few other people and kind of figure it out, I don't want all of my friends knowing that because I don't know what that means yet. Unless this person is going to play a significant role in my life, I don't want that to affect my life, my business, how I am portrayed. And you can see where Meredith was trying really hard to protect that. And also, not to mention her family. Maybe she didn't want her kids knowing because, mind you, her daughter didn't even find out until the beginning of the season that her and her husband were even split up. So she has a lot to protect. I don't think that anybody should take it to heart. I think that she would come forward with this information when she was ready, and she doesn't have to.
Yeah, I am on the same page with you on that. I just want to read this quick super chat. Marcella, love you. Marcella says, I don't think they're scared of Jen. The women just don't want to be in her line of fire. Jen's problems are at home because of lack of attention. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's less of a fear of her per se, and more of just the drama that comes along with, her over the top reactions to what seems to be very minor issues.
Right.
And I do think that it does stem from something that's going on in the home. Back to Meredith, one of the things I've always heard about, marriage and relationships, and I've learned this kind of as I've gotten older, is that you don't talk to your friends and family about the problems that are going on in your marriage or your relationship, because ultimately, what that does is that gets other people involved, that gets their feelings involved. And when you guys decide to work it out or not, or whatever, then those people still have those residual feelings. And at the end of the day, what's going to happen is when you get back together with your mate, or you're no longer mad at your mate, then your friends are still mad.
Right.
Okay. So then that just causes further problems. And to be quite honest with you, with regards to my relationship, I don't want anybody else's opinions because they don't matter to me with regards to my relationship. The only opinion that matters is mine or yours for the relationship that you're in. Right.
No, I agree. I mean, honestly, I've been guilty of this. I think Jason, my fiance, has been guilty of this. Especially, we've been together for 7 years now, going on 8. And everyone has their ups and downs, right? There's moments like I've grown through my 20s with this person. And I've had those crazy nights at a nightclub. And I've had like the best moments of my life and traveling. And you have to weigh it out and make sure that this person, if you want to stick with them, you don't really need everybody else's opinion, because it, one, sways you. And two, like you said, it leaves people with residual feelings, because you talk to your parents or you talk to your loved ones about, man, I feel like I'm being treated this way in my relationship. It needs to be fixed, or I don't know what's going to happen. And then you get this resolve, and they weren't a part of that conversation. So they don't have that resolve. They start to feel some sort of ill way towards the person that you're with. Yeah, it creates a lot of conflict. I've learned that too as I've gotten older.
Mm-hmm. Marcella, thank you so much for the super chat. Says Jen needs attention, which is lacking at home. She needs a dog. When are these housewives going to learn to stay out of people's faces? Wrong road. Absolutely, Marcella. We talk about that a lot. Staying out of people's faces, respecting. There's got to be a distance that you can argue from. Like, we can argue from over here, 6 feet away. You don't need to get in my face to do that. I do agree that
SHAH squad. I mean, how much more attention do you need? She has a bunch of people on the payroll telling her, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're a great businesswoman, feeding her grapes, even though I'm sure that's done for the show. But like, so over the top everything. But you know what, though? Disrespect to her husband.
There is nothing like the love of a good dog.
Hey, I had 2 of them, so you're not telling me any. I sleep with her, I hug her like a pillow. I know what that feeling is. So maybe she does need a dog, but you need a dog. Stop acting like a dog. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. There was another comment that I saw. EHC Bunny says Jen wants to be liked by Lisa, but Lisa knows Jen is the type you can't take out around people. She acts the fool and is embarrassing. She would cause Lisa to lose her relationship with celebrities. That could be a definite thing as well. And I'm sure Lisa, which we'll talk about in just a second, is beginning to see that side of Jen that maybe she hasn't been looking at as much before. When Heather goes to see Jen, it's as if in the morning, it's as if, because Jen was supposed to have left, And then Heather learns that she really didn't leave because the glam squad told her not to leave. They told her to stay and to do some shopping. I think those were really the producers that said, girl, you better stay here and finish this out. We got a lot more to do. And if you leave this trip, ain't gonna be no more action. So I feel like that's what happened. And so there she is getting her makeup done like nothing ever happened. Heather is trying to reason with her, and Heather basically tells her, girl, you are the problem, okay? Jen is still not hearing it. Thoughts?
No, I mean, there was so much deflection in that scene. And she's trying to get her point across, right? Of this affected my family. But again, good for Heather. Like, Heather's so over it at this point. You can tell she's like, I've tried to be a good friend to you. I've tried to reason with you. Like last night was so absolutely ridiculous and unacceptable. You know, you're right now in the moment. Again, this is how it starts. Like, she is a whole new person in the morning because she's not drinking. So she probably doesn't even remember how big of a reaction that was. She's just more like, yeah, girl, what are we going to do today? And like, yeah, nobody reached out to me. And, oh, I know that we had a little bit of a tiff, but we'll fix it. It's not that big of a deal. And it's like, were you not in the same room with your finger in everybody's face and like slapping Heather's arm away and just like ridiculous. I don't think that she knows the magnitude of her reaction because it's the morning after. Don't you hate those too, by the way, again, with your 2-drink maximum? Like, the morning afters suck when you have reactions like this. Like, they absolutely suck. You feel like you have to eat a little crow. You have to go around and figure out from people how that night played out and piece together the events. You walk around with your head down in shame. Like, it is the worst feeling ever. And I know it so well. I hate that feeling. You know, it's just like you could crawl in a hole.
I hate it too. It's so embarrassing. But then there's like the side of you that's like, I was totally justified for what I said. But then there's the embarrassment of like, but I need to do it in that way. Listen, I am here with you on that. Yeah. Here with you on that. So that's why I'm looking at her like, girl, you better learn a lesson because otherwise they are going to Leanne locking you for the rest of your time on this show. Okay, so the ladies have gone to I think she's a hypnotist, right?
Well, yeah, whatever she is. Yeah, okay. I mean, I was sitting there doing it too, by the way. I even asked Jason, I said, how many people, because we're sitting there acting like we're holding the balls. And like, I'm like, how many people do you think are watching their TV right now trying to let the light in and hold the balls and release the balls? I'm like, this is whatever.
You know what's wild? As I was watching Watch What Happens Live, Andy's like talking to Whitney about the hypnotist. And he says he got a text message from Phaedra Parks, who was raving about that hypnotist as well. So she did get a cosign from the infamous Phaedra Parks. Don't necessarily know if that helps you all in any way, shape, or form in your thoughts about potentially booking her. But I'm just saying that she did get some raving reviews from Phaedra Parks.
Okay.
Now, I thought that she was hilarious, to be quite honest with you. You know, I didn't know where it was going, but the look on Meredith's face when Jen walked in with Heather to this event, I was like, they were over her, okay? I could feel the tension in the room when she walked in. Everybody just looked mad uncomfortable. And then they go into the next room after the ball holding ceremony or whatever they were doing. And basically, this is an opportunity for the ladies to, I guess, find their voice. And so I love the questions that the hypnotist asked. And I love the fact that she got these ladies to be completely honest with Jen. What were your thoughts about this?
I mean, it went from hypnotist to therapist. Again, I thought the questions were good. I thought her allowing them to have the space to just be vulnerable and say what they need to say was great. I thought Jen Shah was going to slam her head against the table if she kept on. Like, Jen was like, I'm sorry. No, you're so sorry. I'm really sorry. No, you are so sorry. That's what I said. I'm sorry. And she's like, you're not saying it right. It's like, oh my God, just let her talk. But I thought, Jen is a woman, again, with big reactions. You can tell even in that moment, she probably even had a few drinks before, like a mimosa or two before coming there. She probably had it on the bus over. But in that moment, she's still even more calm than, can you imagine bringing that hypnotist to dinner? That hypnotist would have been the centerpiece. Like Jen Shah would have built her up, ripped her back down like a Lego house and put her back together. Like I don't know. I enjoyed it. And I also enjoyed the side of Meredith, who came out and said, were you putting out negative innuendos about my marriage? And then she's like, I don't get mad easily. You don't want to get me there. And I was like, whoop, okay.
I was here for that too. Meredith really was very forthright with Jen and her line of questioning. And I felt like this was an opportunity for Jen to say, you know what? Yeah, I did have conversations with Whitney and with Heather about your marriage. And I wish that I hadn't done that because, I betrayed you as my friend. Because as she continues to talk about how loyal she is and this crazy expectation that I believe that she has for everybody else, which she doesn't seem to understand that she's not capable of giving. Yeah. I just kind of feel like I was here for the therapist continuously interrupting that BS apology, because that's what it was at the time to me. Okay. Because I was like, here's the thing. Just like you want to know, just like Jen wants to know, did you guys say that I was afraid, that you guys were afraid of me to marry? Okay. And if their answer, which it has been no, we didn't say that, then Jen should just think to herself, if she trusts her friends, then Mary must have lied to Whitney.
Right.
Right. These are my friends. I'm going to choose to believe my friends. But she's still questioning it. And so similarly, she should understand that when Meredith is asking her point blank, did you say these things about my marriage to these people? The only answer that Jen should be giving is, yes, I was wrong. I apologize. But Jen can't say that, which is why I felt like the therapist just was giving it to her. That's not how you apologize. That's not how you do it. Say it again. Because every time she said it, all she was saying was, Meredith, I would never hurt you. But you did. You did.
Right.
And why is it so hard for you to say, I did that and I was wrong?
I just thought about this too. Also, why did Lisa Barlow, when she had the conversation with Mary in her closet, why hasn't Lisa addressed this and said, even though, because she was saying, girl, like, you trust me, you would be so happy you missed this trip because of X, Y, and Z. And, like things went down with Jen and because she's mad that we're friends with Whitney again. But why is Lisa Barlow not asking Mary, hey, why would you tell Whitney that in the first place? Because technically, this is why all of this has started. And Meredith and Lisa are standing true in their words of saying, like, nobody speaks for us. We speak for ourselves. So we did not say that to Mary. But why is she not addressing that with Mary? She's had a conversation with her at this point. Why are producers not pushing for that? Because now I want to know. I just thought about it, but now I want to know.
That's a good question. And that would have been my thought too, is to ask Mary, hey, did you tell Whitney that we were afraid of Jen? And then why would you say that? Unless they had a conversation with Mary where they alluded to maybe being wary of her reactions. And Mary interpreted that, rightly so, as them being afraid of Jen.
Right.
I believe I do, and Whitney said the same thing on Watch What Happens Live. I do believe that there was some conversation about Jen because they talked about Jen freely when Lisa called Mary. So I know this ain't the first time you've had a conversation with Jen, with Mary about Jen. So just admit, we had a conversation that, sometimes your reactions, girl, are a bit over the top, and I try to avoid those. That's a real conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah, I think that I actually agree with you on this. I think that there was a conversation, but maybe the way that it's almost like when you play a game of telephone, the way that it got delivered to Whitney and Whitney brought it back to Jen is probably not necessarily how it was worded from Meredith or Lisa. I agree.
So the final question of the night by the shady hypnotist, who I'm absolutely love, actually. She went around the circle and asked, well, after Whitney moved, of course, because she didn't want to be beside Jen. I don't know where security was at that point, but she asked each of the ladies, who do you trust? Do you all trust Meredith? Everybody was cool with Meredith. Do you trust or not trust Lisa? Everybody was cool with Lisa. I don't know did she say Whitney?
I don't think that they made it to Whitney.
I don't think that they showed Whitney's. But when asked who doesn't trust Jen, everyone in the room raised their hands. Then when it was asked who doesn't trust Heather, Jen was the only person that raised her hand, indicating that she does not trust Heather now at this point. Thoughts on this?
I don't think she believes that. I think that she was just hurt after everybody raising their hand for her. And so then all of a sudden she just flipped the script and raised her hand against Heather, so she wasn't the only one. Honestly, because there's been no indication. We haven't seen anything from Heather, especially what I was saying earlier, when they played the tape back, Heather is always the one in Jen's corner, chasing her down, trying to reason with her. She's been over to Heather's house and they had food. They went on a double date. She gets along really good with Sharif. She's just always in Jen's corner. And when people like Lisa was like, I don't want to be friends with this girl anymore. Heather was, again, the voice of reason, saying, I think she has redeeming qualities. I think that, we all have a little bit of these negative qualities in us somewhere, and maybe we don't show them as much, but I also think that there's good in her too. So I don't think Jen said it for the right reason. I felt like she was being attacked and she wanted to raise her hand for somebody else. Had it have been anybody, I think if it would have been Whitney, she would have raised her hand at this point. If it would have been just anybody else, after she saw that everyone raised their hand for her, she would have raised her hand.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I feel like it was her, as Velda says, being vindictive. I think that Heather has exhibited she's just, to me, beyond what a good friend really, really is. And the way she even had her back, even after she had exploded the night before with the rest of the ladies, it just, when Lisa was like, I'm done, which I can't blame her for either. At this point in time in life, who wants to continuously have to deal with someone blowing up over the smallest things? But I don't fault Heather either, because Heather's being a ride or die friend. You may not always agree with everything that person does, but you're still going to be there for them because you two know what it's like to be ostracized.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I just don't think that this was for the right reasons. I think that, sorry, I missed the name, but whoever just said that they felt like she was being vindictive. Absolutely. This was just, I'm not talking crap about Jen Shah. I actually really like Jen Shah. I think that this is
and agreed. I don't ever want these reviews or anything that I do on my channel. And I know people may disagree with this, but I don't have a dislike for any of these housewives. In fact, I love Jen. I think she's great for the show, but we got to talk about how we actually feel about these reactions. And they're not always going to be the things that we like. That doesn't mean that we dislike that person, right?
And I feel like there's a lot of ways that everyone's different, but there are qualities about Jen. And like you said, which friend are you in the room? You said you've been all three. There are things about each one of these ladies that we can relate to. That's why it's an ensemble cast and everybody is kind of their own personality and character. And that is the power of casting, right? There are things like Whitney with her dad's sobriety journey, Jen with popping off after a few drinks. Like a lot of us have those qualities, even if it's not as big, there's somewhere there, you know?
Right. Agreed. Totally agree with you on that. Thoughts going into the finale. What are your thoughts? How do you feel? What are you expecting?
I'm wondering if Brooks had Meredith wear that face mask thing. I loved it, but it was very Lady Gaga, you know?
You know what's a fun fact?
Huh?
I have one of those.
Do you?
I do. If I can find it, I will wear it next week.
Oh my gosh. I feel like if I walked around Palm Beach County with one of those, somebody would like, I mean, I'm not in LA anymore, you know, I'm so far removed at this point. People would look at me like, what the, you know, and that country would come out. But no, I thought that this is great. I love that we're seeing Heather's business, and that's the finale because she deserves it. Her business is thriving, and I think that she's a great person to end off with. I also can't wait to see now the fact that Mary is going to be in the same room with everybody. I want to see the resolution of this, because if we don't see it here, obviously Andy Cohen knows that this is going to need to be answered. And how did this conversation go down? So he's probably going to address it at the reunion, but I want to see it here. I want to see it without a host kind of making them answer for everything on a reunion floor. I want to see it organically come out where, you know, Jen walks up and says to Mary, maybe, did they or did they not say that? And then them standing right there and say, you know, like whether they did or not, you know, I want the resolution. We've had the conflict all season. I just want the resolution. Do
you think you're going to get it? That's the better question.
Probably not, but that's what the reunions are for.
You know, that face mask was the thing that stood out to me the most. And I was kind of like, it's interesting getting a better idea of who Meredith is through her fashions. I think I'm going to be interested to see what she does next season in terms of being that sort of, I don't want to say like avant-garde, but just sort of risk taker when it comes to fashion. But seeming, you know, she does it in a very Meredith Marks kind of elegant way, which is interesting to me. I never know what she's going to do next. So I'm excited about seeing where she goes beyond season one. Other than that, next week, I have no idea what to expect. Was Mary in the scene at the end?
Yeah, she was at the party. At the party. Yeah.
Okay, good. I am looking forward to Mary being back in the mix. And like you said, hopefully maybe getting some type of resolve and seeing where things move as we head into the reunion. I'm just really excited about the reunion, and I'm hopeful that we get a clip of the reunion maybe like tomorrow or early next week or something like that.
No, I agree with you. And one thing I want to say too, Jason pointed this out to me. It really is telling to see when we get new Housewives, which one is kind of like the fan favorite. And I went on Instagram to see who was the most followed, and it was Meredith Marks. And it's just very kind of telling, I think. But one thing that I like about Meredith's fashion, and then I want to say something about Whitney really quick, is Meredith does a great job of accessorizing her jewelry line with what she's wearing. You can see it all over her Instagram, and it looks amazing. Mm-hmm. And then for Whitney even said at the beginning, I didn't have like a big style sense, but I feel like we're going to see her play over the years, because I know that we'll get years of this show over the seasons. She's going to have a glow up even more and more, and she's getting more into the different fashions and stuff, and I can't wait to see how that plays out. And Mary Cosby looks like she reaches out of like every single theme party that she can and throws it together. I mean, she came to her reunion looks like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I mean, I don't know, but I'm again not throwing shade at her. That's why I wear black all the time, because I have no fashion sense. So if I had the money, I would have somebody styling me, and I wouldn't look like, you know.
You know, sometimes it's not bad to have a uniform. A fun fact, I always heard that a lot of the most wealthy men, and sometimes maybe women too, often have a standard uniform that they wear. So maybe this is just a sign of what's to come.
Yeah, maybe.
Think about it like that. Who has time to think about wardrobe when you've got better things to think about?
Exactly. That's my excuse I'm going to start rolling with.
There you go. Like, I've got other things to think about. But for some people, fashion is everything. And, you know, you can't fault those people for thinking like that either.
I'm not one of those gays.
I feel like I'm in between. Like I'm like, I like to look good, but I don't want to think too hard about it.
Yeah. No, just a hoodie for me. A hoodie or a black V-neck, and I am good.
And they work well. They work
Thanks.
well. Adam, tell us where we can find you and anything you got coming up.
Yeah. So you guys can find me on my YouTube channel at Up and Adam. Also, I changed my Instagram because of DJRichieSkye here to Up and Adam Live, which is great because now I'm noticing a difference. So thanks for that. And then today, because I was so invested this season in what was going on with the Bronwyn stuff from Real Housewives of Orange County, which I know a lot of people aren't into that franchise. But after Monica from All About the Tea dropped her tea on Bronwyn, I asked her if she would join me for the second part of the reunion just to kind of talk about what she dropped and how it was edited for that second part. So we're doing that at 1 o'clock today. Ooh. And then tomorrow I have another fun guest who's Emily Baker, who's going to help me kind of figure out this Erica Girardi case because I don't understand all the legal jargon. So,
OMG, I want to have a conversation with her too. I will definitely be tuning in.
If you want to join us, you're more than welcome.
Oh,
I'll text you the details.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else? Anything else?
Nope. I think that's it.
All right. Well, you've got an action-packed day or two for the rest of the week. And guys, I am just going to be here giving you more news. That's it for the week. I am tired. It has been a long week. I cannot believe it's Thursday already, but we are down to the home stretch, guys. Down to the home stretch. Now, of course, we're going to be back to recap the aftermath of the finale next week, and hopefully we'll be able to chat about a reunion trailer as well. So stick around for that. And guys, we will see you next week.